Today we are going to be looking at some exam strategies like to increase your score in CFA level 1 or your FRM, right? The reason why we are focusing on CFA level 1 and FRM is that it is purely MCQ. There's no vignettes or item sets or writing parts. So the strategy is going to work for your level 1 CFA exam as well as your FRM if you're taking it. Okay, now this is not about studying better, practicing more, so those things we all know. But let's say there are two students who have studied equally, like both of them studied for 600 hours. How can you maybe score a bit more using some better strategies while attempting for the MCQs, the exam, at the time of the exam? The first one is very obvious. It's just that you need to answer all the questions. Very simple. Because there is no negative marking, don't miss out on any of those questions. The next step is very important, probably the most important one, is eliminate choices. In CFA level 1, you are given 3 choices. If you eliminate one, your odds of getting it right are now 50%. So previously you had 33% chance. Now your probability of getting the right answer is 50%. And if you're able to eliminate 2 choices, then the probability of getting it right is obviously 100%. Now, I'll just give you an example. Even just this morning, we were looking at a question where the question said, it's a probability question, where the question said, if it is an economic expansion next year, the probability of a bull market is 50%. And the other scenario was, if it is a recession, the probability of a bull market is 20%. What is the unconditional probability of a bull market? Very simple question. And the choices were 50, 32%, and 20, right? You can solve this using the total probability rule. It's just kind of, look at the conditional probability multiplied by the chance that will happen, etc. But just think about it. 2 scenarios. One scenario, economic expansion, probability of bull market 50%. Lower scenario, there is recession, probability of bull market 20%. The unconditional probability is going to be somewhere in between. And 2 of the choices were 20 and 50%. And the choice, the in between one was 32. And so you could eliminate both 20% and 50% and then go with 32%. You don't even have to calculate this one. Or even if you calculate and you got a different answer, you can do a sanity check if you're able to think about this conceptually and eliminate some of the questions. Eliminate choices first wherever it doesn't make sense. Then you solve the problem. Increases the odds of getting your answer right dramatically. The third tip is to know your financial calculator really well. You have one amazing piece of technology with you. If you're taking your Texas Instruments BA2 Plus professional calculator, it has so much features, so many functions. You can calculate duration, you can calculate so many things, interest rates, all of that is already built in. Make use of it. Know how to use the calculator, how to use the various functions, the depreciation calculation, all of that. You will save a lot of time and you will be more accurate. One of my favorite features of the calculator is the store and recall. So whenever you have a multi-part formula where you have to have some numerator, there are 2 parts to it, there's a denominator, etc. You can store those values individually and then do the calculation by recalling those values. This makes sure you have all the values in terms of the decimals, right? Let's say you're calculating some convexity, etc. It makes a lot of sense to calculate the V minus, the V plus, the value of the bond up when there is a increase in the rate and a decrease. Calculate that, store it, and then use those values by recalling those. It's going to be very accurate, much better. The fourth tip is, when you're taking the exam, if you find a really hard question, it's not that all questions are of equal difficulty, but all of them have equal points or marks. So you don't have to struggle with the hard ones up front. So handle the easy medium. If you're having a really hard time answering a particular question, if you use some of the prior techniques like eliminating choices, but if you're still not able to crack it, leave it and come back to that at the end. You can just leave that, mark it and flag it, and then come back to that question later, that's a much better use of your time. So these 4 techniques are for cracking the exam. At the exam, this is not about studying, this is about how you take the exam. We have done a lot of videos about these study strategies like Pomodoro technique. We have talked a lot about how to prep, how to review. So we will link some of those videos below in the description for you to go and take a look at that as well. All the very best with your CFA FRM prep.